Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Prastaya Bhutane Shimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pucharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pasachade Satarini. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, verse 34. Varṣa-pūga-sahasrānte tad aṇḍam udake śayam kāla-karma-svabhāva-stho jīvo jīvam ajīvayat varṣa-pūga-sahasrānte tad aṇḍam udake śayam kāla-karma-svabhāva-stho jīvo jīvam jīvo jīvam ajīvayat. Prabhus. Varṣa-pūga-sahasrānte tad aṇḍam udake śayam kāla-karma-svabhāva-stho jīvo jīvam ajīvayat. Varṣa-pūga-sahasrānte tad aṇḍam udake śayam kāla-karma-svabhāva-stho jīvo jīvam ajīvayat. God sisters, varṣa-pūga-sahasrānte, tad aṇḍam udake śayam, kāla-karma-svabhāva-stho, jīvo jīvam ajīvayat. Tad aṇḍam udake śayam, kāla-karma-svabhāva-stho, jīvo jīvam ajīvayat. Anybody else? No? Okay. Varṣa-pūga, many years. Sahasra-ante, of thousands of years. Tat, that. Aṇḍam, the universal. Globe. Udake, the universal globe. Udake, in the causal water. Śayam, being drowned. Kala, eternal time. Karma, action. Svabhāva-sthaḥ, according to the modes of nature. Jīva, the Lord of the living beings. Ajīvam, non-animated. Ajīvayat, caused to be animated. Thus, all the universes remained thousands of aeons within the water, the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings entering in each of them caused them to be fully animated. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is described here as the jīva because He is the leader of all other jīvas, living entities. In the Vedas, He is described as the nitya, the leader of all other nityas. The Lord's relation with the living entities is like that of the Father with the sons. The sons and the Father are qualitatively equal, but the Father is never the Son, nor is the Son ever the Father who begets. So, as described above, the Lord as Garbhodakaśāyī Viṣṇu, or Hiraṇyagarbha Supersoul, enters into each and every universe and causes it to be animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of the material nature, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 14:3. After each annihilation of the material creation, all the living entities are merged within the body of the Lord, and after creation, they are again impregnated within the material energy. In material existence, therefore, the material energy is seemingly the mother of the living entities, and the Lord is the Father. When, however, the animation takes place, the living entities revive their own natural activities under the spell of time and energy, and thus the varieties of living beings are manifested. The Lord, therefore, is ultimately the cause of all animation in the material world. I will repeat the translation one more time. Thus, all the universes remained thousands of eons within the water, the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings, entering in each of them, caused them to be fully animated. I should change it. It's a little loud. I can't hear very well, so I always speak loudly, thinking no one else can hear properly. Hare Krishna. Om Agnati Marandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Chakshurun Minitam Yena Tasma Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasachadi Sadarini Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to say just a little something about Krishna for my own purification. When one doesn't give class very often, one first realization that comes is that one is doing this for one's own purification on many levels. Before starting to give the class, since our movement is a very personal movement, we don't refer to God as God necessarily. We use the wonderful term that Srila Prabhupada has given us, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself before I start the class. My name is Visvadhika Dasi, and I was initiated in New Vrindavan on Radhastami in 1973. I was in New Vrindavan for many years, where I had the privilege of being a nursery school teacher, mother, ashram teacher, Sankirtan devotee on weekends, emergency medical technician, that means qualified to work on an ambulance, for the Gurukula and the community for many years. I also got to sew for the deities. And finally, I helped to raise funds for the Bhakti Center in New York. That was when I was a lot younger. Now, here in Mayapur, I'm here usually about 9 months out of the year, 8 or 9 months. And it's a great privilege. And it's also a great privilege to be in Sharanagati in Canada for 3 or 4 months out of the year, where my husband and I have a small place, and where he takes care of bulls and cows and trains bulls and oxen to work, and where he gives me the wonderful example of always going to Srimad Bhagavatam class every single day, no matter what. Maybe if he's very sick, he won't go, but he's there. And that's a great inspiration. So, this entire chapter sidelines the Big Bang theory of creation. The cause of all causes is not the Big Bang. So, before we continue, even though I'm sure most of you are coming to class regularly, it's good, I think, to review just the last 3 verses to remember the context in which today's verse was spoken, because they're very closely related. So verse 32, O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, the senses, the mind, and the modes of nature, are not assembled. It's like having a building block set. If you want to make, you have to put it together. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of things on the floor. Thus, when all these became assembled by force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being by accepting both the primary and secondary causes of creation. Thus, all the universes remained thousands of eons within the water, the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings entering in each of them caused them to be fully animated. So these verses come from a whole chapter of details about the creation of this material world and how it functions. I move around too much. And Sukadeva understood that this Krishna Katha of the Lord's material creation is sufficiently important that he was relating this to Maharaj Parikshit, a man who was about to die, leaving this material world in 7 days. And not only in this chapter, but in other cantos of the Bhagavatam, in other places, Sukadeva Goswami was giving these instructions to Maharaj Parikshit. In Canto 2, we have the process of creation. This chapter, the cause of all causes, Purusha Shukta confirmed. Canto 5, we have studying the structure of the universe, movements of the sun, orbits of the planets, Sisumar planetary systems. At the end, I remember recently, I think it was about a 1.5 years ago, I was reading Canto 5 of the Bhagavatam, and my head was swimming, literally. I would have to look back on the verses from a few days before to be able to understand today's verse. I could barely put all this information together in a coherent way. In fact, I remember many years ago when the 5th canto came out, not a small number of devotees blooped, they left, because they thought, this is not scientific. This is not what I learned in school, in college. And though these devotees were for sure not atheists, the description of the ordering of the universe according to the scientists was, after all, science. It's not a fairy tale. And all this incredible detail in the Bhagavatam seemed like a fairy tale. How could anyone know so much detail? So, some people concluded they must have made it up. It's not real. But Srila Vyasadeva did not make this up. He was not in the habit of making things up. My religious background is Christian. And one of my favorite Sunday hymns was a hymn called How Great Thou Art. For those of you who have never heard it, I'll just repeat a couple of the stanzas. I won't sing it because I have a terrible voice. O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars. I hear the rolling thunder. Thy power throughout the universe displayed. Last night we got to hear Krishna's rolling thunder. It was amazing. Then sings my soul, my Savior, unto thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. An amazing hymn, really. And to this day, thinking of it inspires me to remember the words and sing it. Still, it's there in my head. And we are so fortunate as devotees because Srila Prabhupada has revealed to us in detail the wonders of his greatness, his material energy and his spiritual energy. At the end of one particularly detailed chapter, Prabhupada, this is from the 5th canto. I actually remember this purport because I was greatly relieved to read it. Why was I relieved to read it? Because in the purport, Prabhupada actually says, I'm not quoting verbatim, paraphrasing. He said, if one cannot remember all these details, what we should remember is how great God is. So, I was relieved to read this. It brought me right back to remembering my favorite hymn, How Great Thou Art, and confirmed, actually, the authenticity of my childhood realizations. So why so much detail about the material world? Aren't we supposed to be just getting out of the material world, this martya loka? That's true. But Sukadeva Goswami thought it was important, so we should understand that it's important. It's important because, first, hearing about wonderful Krishna, whether it's about Krishna creating the material world or Krishna stealing the butter, it's all ecstatic, it's all wonderful, it's all about Krishna, and it all is meant to increase our faith and love. And secondly, and important for us to remember is, if we're lost somewhere, understanding the nature of where we are, how it functions, is actually a very important element of what is the best way out. We need to, okay, where am I? Okay, I see this, I see that. Okay, now I understand a little bit better. I'll try going there. Why? Because we understand. Otherwise, we're like chickens without a head. We're not going to be going very far. It's a terrible expression, actually. I shouldn't use it. I don't know if anyone of you know the origin of this expression, but I won't even mention it in Bhagavatam class. So, coming back to the wonderful conclusion that the cause of all causes is a person and not a big bang, it's also good to review the transcendental knowledge about the cause of all causes that Srila Prabhupada is giving us in this purport. We can't lose track of the purport. Purport is very important. Srila Prabhupada actually, these purports, Srila Prabhupada said they were as ecstasies. And one God sister, she said to me, I've said this so many times in class, but it's such a wonderful realization that she gave me that I'm pleased to repeat it again. We were talking about how inspiring it is to read Srila Prabhupada's purports every day, and how without reading his purports, there's no way we could understand the verses properly. And she said to me, she said, actually, when we read the purports, we should be thinking like Srila Prabhupada is writing us a letter. back in the day, receiving a letter from Srila Prabhupada was the most mercy, you know. And it's not like you kept it for yourself. No, it was shared with everybody. Just like the Bhagavatam, we share with everybody. So she said, before we start reading a purport, we should be thinking, my dear Mother Visvadhika, please accept my blessings. And then we read the purport. And then at the end of the purport, we can add, your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And Prabhupada's purports are that personal, not just for his immediate disciples, for all disciples, for generations to come. Prabhupada said, these books are the law books for the next 10,000 years. So these purports are so important. So, to review, I picked out 3 points that I thought were important. The Lord's relation with the living entities is like that of the Father with the sons. The sons and the Father are qualitatively equal, but the Father is never the Son, nor is the Son the Father who begets. So, Prabhupada is reminding us, as a dutiful father would advise his upstart son, young man, this is a Western expression, some of you Indian devotees may not have heard it, you're getting too big for your own britches. Just listen to me for a moment. What does that expression mean, too big for your britches? Britches actually refers to pants. And a young man, a young boy, as he's growing up, I'm sure this young boy in the front here can verify this truth. It doesn't take very long before the pants that you were wearing a few months ago are too small. So, when that happens, you have become too big for your britches. So, as sons and daughters of the Supreme Lord, we need to always remember that we are not the cause of all causes, that Krishna is the seed-giving father of all living entities. So that puts us into our proper position. And Prabhupada continues a little later. So, as described above, the Lord, as Garbhodakaśāyī Viṣṇu, or Hiraṇyagarbha Supersoul, enters into each and every universe and causes it to be animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of material nature, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 14:3. So, there's no mention here of Big Bang or a vague description. When we read this, we know who is the cause of all causes. Just like when you are hungry and you eat and become full, it is not a vague sensation, difficult to perceive. In case we've forgotten this Bhagavad-gītā 14:3, I realized I didn't remember exactly, so I looked it up and I'll share it. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharat. Very personal. Krishna is the seed-giving father. And this is Prabhupada's conclusion in the purport. The Lord, therefore, is ultimately the cause of all animation in the material world. I'm running out of time. Okay, thank you, Rameshwar Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada himself is not giving his opinion in this purport. And just to be more convinced that what Guru is saying, here are more verses that confirm Krishna as the cause of all causes. From Shisopanishad, the personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. And because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Arjuna said, "You are the supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth, and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the all-pervading beauty." All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyas, proclaim this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Brahma Samhita, at the very beginning, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body, and he is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. The name of this whole chapter. So, there is no doubt that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of living beings who manifests as Garbhodakaśāyī Viṣṇu, who enters into every universe and causes it to be animated, and for thousands of eons within the water of the Causal Ocean, the Lord who manifests innumerable incarnations such as Lord Varaha, Lord Nrsimha, Lord Vamanadev, is none other than Krishna, Govinda, who played in the forests of Vrindavan with his Gopa and Gopi friends and the cows and calves. I become actually very enlivened when I think about this, because knowing this is for sure an expansion of how great thou art. It's simple enough to appreciate the greatness of God when we consider the material creation. But when we consider that the Supreme Creator played as a cowherd boy, plays as a cowherd boy in the forests of Vrindavan, and this is his favorite occupation. Brahma Samhita also declares that Govinda, Krishna, is the cause of all causes. I'm sorry. The prayers of Lord Brahma glorify the Supreme Godhead in every verse and expand on his transcendental qualities and activities. One must be struck with complete awe and reverence hearing these prayers. Practically, there is no scope for any other reaction. But apart from awe and reverence, Brahma Samhita also gives us a little glimpse into the internal ecstatic nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And on December 4th, 1968, Srila Prabhupada used the opportunity of giving a class on verse 529 in Los Angeles to give us, the generations of devotees, present and future, some essential instructions. So I'm going to read just a few excerpts from this class. And I don't know if we will have time. What time is it? Oh, we might. As I'm reading these excerpts, consider what are the most important instructions that Srila Prabhupada is giving us. So this verse, 529, is the very famous verse. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who was tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, and always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. So as I'm reading, pay attention, and I'm going to be asking you to share what has struck you as an important instruction. And I will also share. I lost my voice many years ago doing Sankirtan. Hare Krishna. It's a blessing, sometimes. So, Srila Prabhupada said, thank you very much. So, we are worshiper of the original absolute personality of Godhead. Govindam, Govindam. Go means senses. Go means cows. And go means land. And Vindam, Vindam means who gives pleasure. The pleasure potency of all these three things, senses, cows, and the land. The land, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, 529 Bhagavad-gītā. The proprietor of all land, the maintainer of all land. To give pleasure to the people of all land is Govinda, Krishna, Govindam. And he is the protector and pleasing to the cows. You have seen many pictures of Krishna. He is loving cow. What cow is loved by him? Why not another animal? There are many other animals. Why particularly cow? Because cow protection is the most important business of the human society. In offering obeisances to Krishna, it is said, and we say this prayer every day, at least I hope we do, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Person, who is the protector of the Brahmanas and the cows. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagat Hitaya. The first qualification is that he protects the Brahmanas and the cows. Next, he protects the whole world. So the example is set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead that human civilization will advance only on the basis of Brahminical culture and cow protection. As soon as there is fall down from Brahminical culture, as soon as there is discrepancy in the protection of cows, there will be no more peace in the world. Therefore, he specially said, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. This Krishna consciousness movement is for the protection of Brahminical culture and cows. Then automatically, the peace of the world will come. if two things are done, this is Vedic literature, they pick up the essence of the things, and all other things follow. The class is actually quite long. I'm not going to read the whole class, but I will read a little further on. Only one moon, only one sun. So try to make some percentage of the population actually Brahmana. Go Brahmana hitaya cha. And protect the cows. Actually, we are taking so much advantages. So from the cows, the milk, and from the milk, we can make hundreds of vitaminous foodstuffs, hundreds. They're all palatable. So such a nice animal, faithful, peaceful, beneficial. After taking milk from it, if we kill, does it look very well? Even after the death, the cows supply the skin for your shoes. It is so beneficial, you see, even after death. While living, she gives you nice milk. You cannot reject milk. As soon as there is a child born, milk immediately required. Old man, milk is life. Diseased person, milk is life. Invalid, milk is life. So therefore, Krishna is teaching by his practical demonstration how he loves this innocent animal cow. So human society should develop Brahminical culture on the basis of protecting cows. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, I can't hardly talk anymore. It's your turn. I have to warn you. I am hard of hearing. I am hard of hearing. So if you're going to say something, you must use the microphone.
Thank you very much. First for introducing yourself and letting us know you, and then for giving a very nice class on the process of creation, and then bringing it to Krishna's original form and how he delights in herding calves and cows. I find the more I study about the material creation that Krishna is causing, the more I realize his amazing powers, the more amazing it is to me that such a powerful being in his original form is just playing as a little boy with calves and his friends. So for me, that's making his Krishna Leela even more amazing, because I know how amazingly powerful he is. So I thank you. And just one other observation. It was very interesting what you read from a class in the end of 1968. That was the year, the ultimate protests against war. And there's Prabhupada explaining, you'll never have peace if you're not protecting the cows. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna. I also thank you for introducing yourself, because this is such a large international community and we don't all know each other. And I'm hoping that you have now set an example for the future Bhagavatam speakers to introduce themselves. I also want to say that you didn't mention about Nandi Sanctuary and your homeopathic career, and also you recognized the picture that's above your head of Srila Prabhupada. Could you tell us all these things, please?
I actually have a little difficulty even hearing with a microphone, but Were you saying this is Srila Prabhupada in New Vrindavan? Yes. This is Srila Prabhupada's last visit to New Vrindavan. And he looks very stern in this picture. Devotees have remarked that to me. But actually, preceding the taking of this picture was one of the most ecstatic pastimes we had with Srila Prabhupada in New Vrindavan. I'll tell you just a little bit. It was the habit in those days when Srila Prabhupada was traveling to different temples that he would distribute cookies to the devotees. So in New Vrindavan also, cookies had been made, but New Vrindavan was very big, huge farm. It took 1 hour to walk from Bahulaban farm to Vrindavan farm, which was the brahmachari farm in those days. And Srila Prabhupada was there in the Vrindavan farm. And one devotee, his servant, said to Radhanath Swami, "Prabhu, the cookies, go get the cookies." So Radhanath went to look for the cookies. There's no cookies. Radhanath is going, "Where are the cookies? Prabhupada wants cookies now." Radhanath, "The cookies are at Bahulaban." They're at Bahulaban. What are we going to do? Prabhupada wants cookies. So Radhanath thought, very intelligent, he thought, okay, I know what we'll do. We'll take all the Mahaprasadam from yesterday. And it was a habit in New Vrindavan that all the Mahaprasadam was saved and distributed in the morning at breakfast prasadam. So we'll take the Mahaprasadam and we'll put it on Prabhupada's plate. We'll put it on the deity's plate and we'll offer it to Prabhupada. And wonderful. So they quickly did that. And Radhanath Swami goes up to Srila Prabhupada next to his Vyasasan. And the devotee Chowkidar goes, "What is this?" And Radhanath goes, "This is Mahaprasadam for Prabhupada to distribute to the devotees. Prabhupada wants cookies. Go away." So Radhanath goes to the other side of the Vyasasan, through the temple room to the other side. Another Chowkidar is standing there. "What is this?" "This is for Srila Prabhupada to distribute to the devotees. Prabhupada wants cookies. Go away." So then Radhanath became brave. He said, "Prabhu, please. The cookies were left at Bahulaban. There's no way we can get them. Please, let me just offer it to Prabhupada." And meanwhile, Prabhupada had seen the plate and was eager. So the plate was given to Srila Prabhupada. And after each spoonful, Srila Prabhupada was distributing to the devotees. And the kirtan was going on. And the kirtan got more and more ecstatic. Now this old Vrindavan farm, this was an old farmhouse. So you didn't have to be dancing to be dancing, because the floor at this point was going like this. And after each preparation, Prabhupada was giving, remember these are the deity's bowls, he was giving the deity's bowls to the devotees. Everything was being given away. And finally, the only thing left on Prabhupada's plate were the gulab jamans. So Prabhupada didn't use a spoon. He picked up the gulab jamun and he bit into it, and the gulab jamun juice went flying. And the devotees went nuts. They went completely crazy, because gulab jamun juice directly from Prabhupada's mouth was flying through the air. Anyway, this was the ecstatic kirtan, an occurrence that happened before that picture. So whenever I see that picture, it's very wonderful, wonderful memory. With that, I think we're coming to the end of class. Does anyone want to share one more realization Yes, Prabhu. Oh, you already had. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Just a small comment that the worship of cows is mentioned as direct devotional service in Bhagavatam. The worship of Mother Ganga is mentioned as direct devotional service. The worship of pure devotee of Krishna is also mentioned as direct devotional service. Just wanted to bring this point.
Yes, the pure devotee, cows. And we have to remember that worship, authentic worship, is not just the incense and the ghee lamp. Authentic worship of the spiritual master means service. If all we were doing is offering a stick of incense and a flower to Srila Prabhupada, would that really be authentic worship of the spiritual master? No, Srila Prabhupada would not be satisfied with that. And he taught us in so many ways when he was with us what real worship of the spiritual master means. So in the same way, we offer go puja, we offer puja to the cows. But we also need to, as a society, begin to meditate very seriously on the importance of serving cows. We are a human society, Prabhupada says. So, human society should develop Brahminical culture on the basis of protecting cows. So we are a human society, ISKCON. And up until now, there has been some cow protection, service to cows going on within ISKCON, but not enough. Before Srila Prabhupada, I was just reading last night Harisari's Prabhu remembrances of when Srila Prabhupada was leaving. And he was instructing the devotees, every city temple should have a farm community for milk and for bhoga for the deities. And not only that, other times he also said, for sattvic living, for raising our children in a Krishna conscious atmosphere. City temple for preaching, farm communities for our everyday devotee life. So I'm very focused on cow protection, and I'm just, I can't help it. I bring it practically into every class that I give. And I thank you very much for your patience listening to me. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Haribo.
Mataji, you talked about Saranagati farm community. So where it is located and what it is important for. So do you please explain.
Where it's...
Saranagati farm community.
Oh, where it is. Sharanagati farm community is a new home for me. I was in New Vrindavan for many, many years. Since 2016, my husband and I have been in Sharanagati, which is north of Vancouver. Up into the mountains. It's very beautiful. It's like going to a heavenly planet. Even in the winter when it's freezing cold and we're struggling, it's still like a heavenly planet. It's very beautiful. And it's not just a small farm community with, say, a little temple and a goshala and a few devotees. It's actually acres and acres of land. And it takes about 15 minutes by car to get from one end of Sharanagati to the other, by car. And that's just the length of it. And there the devotees mostly own their own land. And we have a simple temple dedicated to Gaur Nitai. And a small Goshala there. It should be big. We have to work on making it a big Goshala. It's called a Himsa Goshala. And Yoginath Prabhu and his good wife Udake, they take care of the cows and bulls there. And my husband is there most of the time, working with the oxen, training the oxen. And this year he's very excited because he's going to start training some of the young men in the community to work with the oxen. So I keep trying to get him to come to Mayapur, but he just, This past winter he said, I can't leave. Now we have extra cows. We rescued 2 cows and 1 calf, female calf, was born. He said, I have to stay and help. And now this summer we were planning on going to visit a farm community north of Toronto and doing, visiting a few other temples. He said, well, maybe I can go for the celebration, but I have to come right back. So, many devotees look upon cow protection as being an austere, difficult service, and in some ways it is. But believe me, devotees who take care of cows, they very quickly come to the understanding that it's not me taking care of cows. It's cows taking care of me. Hare Krishna. On that note, I should end. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.